Senate stalemate. Trump versus Schumer. What's happening in Washington? Washington is at a breaking point. After days of political wrangling, the U.S. Senate has left for its August recess with absolutely no deal in place to accelerate approval of President Donald Trump's nominees. Frustrated negotiations ended not just in stalemate, but with Trump lashing out furiously on social media at Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer, bluntly telling him to go to hell. What happens next could shake up Senate traditions, and here's why almost nobody agrees on what should happen next. Senators wrapped up their session late Saturday, departing after tense, high-stakes negotiations failed to break through the gridlock. The conflict isn't new, but it's reached a fever pitch. This year, Democrats have blocked more nominees than usual, dragging each confirmation through lengthy roll call votes rather than allowing quick, unanimous consent. The result? Each position could take days, stalling Trump's agenda and increasing pressure from within his own party. At the center of the controversy is the question, should the Senate fundamentally change its rules to speed up confirmations? Senate Majority Leader John Thune openly declared the current nomination process broken, stating, "I think they're desperately in need of change." He pointed to the chaos of the past 6 months as evidence that the current procedures simply don't work. This is the part most critics are focusing on. Is it time to overhaul centuries-old Senate rules for sheer expediency? Schumer, however, passionately insisted that changing these rules would be a huge mistake. His argument? Senate Republicans will still need bipartisan support to pass key legislation like spending bills, so gutting cooperation now could backfire spectacularly. Donald Trump tried to bully us, go around us, threaten us, call us names, but he got nothing, Schumer insisted, clearly unconvinced by Republican threats. Here's where things get controversial. Could breaking procedural norms just to get confirmations through spark even deeper partisan divisions? What if Republicans themselves regret it later, when the balance of power shifts? The dramatic standoff is hardly a one-off. Both parties have engaged in tit-for-tat escalation over executive and judicial nominees for the last 20 years. Remember, in 2013, Democrats ended the 60-vote hurdle for most judicial nominees to bypass GOP obstruction of Obama's picks. Then, in 2017, Republicans duplicated the maneuver, ensuring Trump's Supreme Court nominee Neil Gorsuch a simple majority route to confirmation. These moves, taken in the heat of partisan rivalry, have eroded the tradition of bipartisan cooperation and the trust that used to underpin the system. And this is the part most people miss. Every new shortcut further weakens the guardrails that make the Senate different from the House. For weeks, Trump has publicly pressed Senate Republicans to skip their August break and power through the backlog of his nominees. Instead, GOP negotiators tried to strike a bargain with Democrats. In exchange for moving a large group of Trump's appointments, they discussed reversing some of the administration's controversial cuts to foreign aid and other spending issues. At several points, they felt close to a compromise. But then Trump's angry message Saturday sabotaged further progress, urging Republicans to go home and explain to your constituents what bad people the Democrats are. Remarkably, this is the first time in recent memory that the minority party has refused to allow even a handful of quick, streamlined confirmations. Thune has already extended Senate sessions this year in hopes of breaking the logjam. But Democratic leaders dug in, demanding spending concessions or other incentives in return for cooperation. Even though most senators on both sides are weary and eager to leave Washington for the summer. Schumer doubled down, charging, "We have never seen nominees as flawed, as compromised, as unqualified as we have right now." A bold claim likely to spark heated debate. Are today's appointees really less qualified, or is this just hyperbole from frustrated partisans? So, here's the big question for you. Should the Senate flatten its own rules to help the president confirm nominees faster, even at the cost of eroding Senate traditions and bipartisan cooperation? Or are Democrats right to resist, demanding concessions in exchange for their votes? Where does your allegiance lie? With speedy government or careful deliberation? Drop your thoughts below. This is one debate no one can afford to ignore. Senate Showdown, Trump versus Democrats on nominee approval. The Senate stands on the brink of a historic showdown as Democrats dig deep and President Trump pushes for total approval of his nominees. Here's what happens when a president demands all and Congress says no way. Brace for Explore the Smart Battle. The original stalemate between Senate Republicans and Democrats over Trump's freeze remains Schachter's. Congress was supposed to have left Washington by now, but the president's insistence forced lawmakers to stay on, tasked with breaking through the Democratic blockade. Late Saturday afternoon, progress remained elusive. Cast Asiaponatan, that's John Thune, RSD, summed up the stalemate. The Democrats are completely dug in and their position isn't working. Negotiations involve Republicans, Democrats, and the White House, but tensions run hot. Thune and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, Democrat, met Friday to discuss Democratic proposals, but haven't spoken directly since, relying on intermediaries. Republican senators are pushing for a deal to rapidly approve nominees that won bipartisan committee support. But Schumer holds firm. For Democrats, the deal breakers are release of White House withheld funding, guarantees against future spending cuts, a major sticking point. In exchange, Democrats offer phased approval. Some nominees now, others later this fall. But Trump won't budge. From his Bedminster, New Jersey golf course, he's rallying Republicans via social media, demanding all nominees get approved now. Here's where it gets controversial. Trump's hardline stance includes invoking recess appointments, a constitutional power that lets presidents bypass the Senate during breaks. Republicans are seriously considering this nuclear option, and it's setting alarm bells ringing in Democratic circles. Senator Markwayne Mullin, R. Oklahoma, outlined 3 GOP options. 1. Negotiate a deal with Democrats. 2. Adjourn, triggering recess appointments. 3. Overhaul Senate rules, the so-called nuclear option. While recess appointments could theoretically bypass the blockades, Senator Eric Schmitt, RMO, hinted Democrats hold the power to avoid this path by continuing to stonewall. Their obstruction is forcing us to take necessary steps, he warned. So far, only one Trump nominee, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, has sailed through the Senate without opposition. This contrasts starkly with former President Biden, who had 49 nominees confirmed via voice votes by this point in his presidency. Senator Kevin Cramer, RND, openly supports rushing a rules change, saying that would be best. But many Republicans prefer a bipartisan compromise for 60-plus nominees already vetted by committees. The stakes are sky high, with a government shutdown looming and a reservoir slowing. Derail-word political future on the line. Will senators find middle ground, or will this brinkmanship reshape how presidents appoint officials? Prompting the conversation. Are recess appointments a valid political tool, or an end run around checks and balances? Should the Senate prioritize speed or scrutiny? Have your say in the comments. Trump versus Schumer. Senate standoff explained. In a dramatic turn of events, President Donald Trump publicly instructed Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer to go to hell in a fiery social media post, leading to a weekend retreat of the Senate that concluded without an agreement on confirming his nominees. Following a series of intense discussions involving Senate Republican leader John Thune, Schumer, and White House officials, the legislative body was unable to strike a compromise before the recess. Inside sources privy to the engagements revealed to CNN that negotiations had been aimed at resolving a stalemate that prevented the Senate from advancing on several nominations. The main sticking point came from Schumer's demand for the release of federal funding, alongside a request for Trump to avoid proposing another legislative effort aimed at enforcing budget cuts, a move seen as drastically slashing federal funds. In a stark display of discontent, Trump labeled Schumer's conditions as egregious and unprecedented, signifying the breakdown of discussions. Trump had previously expressed his desire for the Senate to confirm his nominees, even if it meant bypassing the traditional August recess. However, his social media declaration illustrated a clear refusal to meet the Democrats' requirements. In his post, he said, "Tell Schumer, who is under tremendous political pressure from within his own party, the radical left lunatics, to go to hell. Do not accept the offer. Go home and explain to your constituents what bad people the Democrats are, and what a great job the Republicans are doing and have done for our country. Have a great recess." During a Saturday night session, Thune requested unanimous consent for a vote on several nominations before allowing the Senate to adjourn for the month. Democrats had been strategically delaying the confirmation of Trump's lower-level nominees, which compelled Thune to keep the Senate in session over the weekend. In response to Thune's request, Schumer had placed several demands on the table to expedite the confirmation process of a group of nominees. These included the unfreezing of federal resources earmarked for various initiatives, such as the National Institutes of Health and foreign aid programs. Additionally, Schumer insisted that Trump should refrain from pursuing another funding cut proposal, commonly referred to as rescissions, following a recently approved $9 billion package aimed at implementing some reductions. In a press conference that evening, Schumer expressed that Democrats were earnestly working towards a prudent and bipartisan approach to facilitate Trump's nominations, but lamented that the president failed to accept their terms. In a fit of rage, Trump threw in the towel, sent Republicans home, and was unable to do the basic work of negotiating. Is this the art of the deal? Schumer remarked, emphasizing a poster that showcased Trump's social media missive. Opting not to delve into the specifics of the discussions with the White House and Thune, Schumer did affirm that both parties were nearing agreement on many issues before Trump abruptly halted the process. CNN has reached out to the White House and Thune for their responses to this unfolding situation. This report has been updated with further developments as they emerge, with contributions from CNN's Samantha Waldenberg.